Okay, day 2. We have the cinder block raised garden bed completed. Now we're going to add all the sticks to the bottom first on top of the hardware cloth, and then the straw, and then we're going to begin adding essentially our Mels mix. Mel Bartholomew from the square foot gardening method. You take equal shares of peat moss, vermiculite, and compost and mix them together, and that's going to add a great growing medium for the plants. You're going to get the nutrients from the compost and then the water retention from the peat moss and the vermiculite. So we're going to hop right in. So we picked up our peat moss, we got the Vigoro vermiculite, and then also a perlite, and then we have a big pile of compost that we're going to be adding. I'm going to start mixing up 5-gallon buckets at a time into his wheelbarrow, and then we're going to just start applying to the top layer of the raised garden bed. We're starting with the peat moss. I got my 5-gallon bucket. You have to be careful with this because it is light and fluffy, and you do not want to breathe this material in. Okay, so I'm going to add water to your peat moss so it starts holding the water, and then it also is going to cut back on how much particulates are going to go into the air. Now to add the vermiculite to the 5-gallon bucket. Remember, do not breathe in this dust. And then I'm going to add the scoop, a 5-gallon bucket worth of compost. Now the fun part to incorporate. Still not to breathe in any particulates that are coming up, and we're trying to incorporate so that everything is, it's easier to incorporate it here when you're mixing than trying to mix everything in the garden. I'm also trying to break up any big chunks I see, like this. We want it nice and broke down. This is my brother's compost from his grass, and any of that organic matter is going to continue to break down in his raised garden bed, so he will need to add more material either halfway through the season or at the end of the season. So now I'm going to start loading up his raised garden bed. And that's the material now, mixed with the vermiculite, the peat moss, and the compost. You can see 15 gallons worth of material, 3 5-gallon buckets, does not go a long way in this. So we're going to get back to work. We're going to continue loading this thing up, and the next time you see it, it should have a good level on it. The process is coming along very nicely. We ended up putting some compost and then also the material from his other 2 raised garden beds back in. So this is what we have now. And that was all the material from here and over here. And we're going to continue mixing up our compost, vermiculite, and peat moss, and then adding it right on top. Yeah, so we're making sure that everything's nice and level as we keep moving down to fill in the rest of the bed. And as time goes on, the sticks and the straw is going to break down over time. So this is actually going to kind of compact a little bit and get lower. So we will have to do a little adding as time goes on. The 2 bags of vermiculite is completely gone now. We're going to be using the perlite to finish the last little bit of section. Perlite and vermiculite is about the same. The only thing is vermiculite has a little bit better moisture retention than perlite. Perlite's basically volcanic glass. Oh yeah. Okay, she's all filled up. We're gonna put and cover it with this black material that he picked up from Home Depot, just so use that as a mulch so the sun doesn't go ahead and degrade the soil before he starts planting in it. But yep, it's all done. There's 32 of those flat blocks at the bottom, then the next layer is 32, and the top layer is 32 cinder blocks. When we were putting everything in and digging out the compost, we've been finding worms. I've showed you a few, but there's been quite a few more, so I'm very, very pleased with that. He did great making the compost, which helped tremendously at cutting back the expense. of basically getting this thing built up for him. Okay, so here it is. Everything's all completed now. These lines will be his marking points for where he can plant his plants or seeds in the garden. And then if he does the square foot gardening method, he can get 16 lengthways, or if it's too much to remember, each one of these cinder blocks, if he plants where that is, he can actually get 12 rows that way. So if he does it based on each cinder block, he can have a total of 48 plants, 12 times 4. If he does it the square foot gardening method exactly, he can get 4 across, and then he can get 16 lengthwise.